Today, I'm going to be showing you 5 awesome tips for making thumbnails in Photoshop. Hey guys, it's Finn and welcome back to Quick Tips. Now, one of the questions I get all the time on this channel are, how do you make your thumbnails? And please make a tutorial. Now, I would love to make a tutorial, but I thought instead I would just give you a few tips and pointers to make your own thumbnails super awesome. Now, really quick, before we get to the first tip, I want to give a quick shout out to Graphic Stock for sponsoring this video. They're a website where you can actually legally get hundreds of thousands of images and can actually make your thumbnails look a lot more awesome. So we'll talk a bit more about that after. But for now, let's get things started with the first tip. Tip number 1, zoom out. I see tons of people making thumbnails zoomed all the way in 1080p and putting in all this detail, when in reality, thumbnails are shown so small on YouTube that most of that detail just isn't going to show up. Not only that, but when designing thumbnails zoomed out, you can get a much better idea for composition and lighting and just how things are actually going to look on YouTube. I also recommend right-clicking on the background in Photoshop and changing it to white instead of a default dark gray. That is also going to allow you to see what it's actually going to look like on YouTube. Because you have to remember, the end goal is not for it to look good in Photoshop, but on YouTube. So that's tip number 1, zoom out while you're working. It's gonna really help you not add too much detail and get an overall feel of how that thumbnail is going to look. Tip number 2, make things pop. You have to remember that your thumbnail is gonna be shown alongside a ton of others, and you really want yours to stand out. Now, a great way to do this is by selecting your main character or object and cutting it out of the background and adding an inner glow and a drop shadow. So just go into the blending options in Photoshop, select inner glow, change the color to white, and then change the size up a little bit and the distance so it's sort of coming from one side as opposed to from all around. That's gonna really make that side of the character or object pop. And then simply add a drop shadow, maybe change the size up a little bit, put it on multiply, play around with it a little bit. And if you did that all correctly, your character is gonna start to really pop off the background, which is what you want. Tip number 3, the Unsharp Mask. Now, most of the time, your thumbnails are going to consist of either a screenshot from a video or an image that you found online. If you are looking for your thumbnail images online, though, be sure to stick away from anything copyright. You don't want to get in trouble later on, and it's just good practice not to use other people's pictures. Plus, there are tons of websites where you can get royalty-free pictures or stock photos or assets. That's why Graphic Stock is so awesome, and that's why I use it for my thumbnails and graphics and even videos. They have another site called Video Blocks. We don't need to get into that right now. Most of these royalty-free image websites are super expensive because you have to pay for every image, so it's not necessarily realistic for making thumbnails. But Graphic Stock is awesome because you actually only have to pay a yearly subscription, and then you get unlimited access to all of their images and graphics. And it's not even that expensive. It only costs $99 a year. And there's even a special code for the holidays. It's graphicstock.com/holidays, and that gets you $50 off. I'll put a link in the description to that as well. So if you're looking for a website to be able to get awesome images for your thumbnails or any kind of graphics, whether it's a video or a thumbnail or a poster or a logo, anything like that, you get 100% rights to use the images legally, which is super important. So yeah, be sure to check it out if you're interested, and click the link in the description. Without further ado, let's get on to the Unsharp Mask. This is a super powerful tool for sharpening your images in a way that's not gonna look really ridiculous. So let's say you've already cut out your subject, you've added that inner glow and that drop shadow. He's popping out from the background, but he's not looking as sharp as he could be. All you have to do is go to Filter, Sharpen, and then Unsharp Mask. And the way this works is you have a few options. You have the radius, you have the amount, and all the rest really don't matter. So basically what you're gonna wanna do is play with the radius until it's only just adding a little bit of sharpening around the eyes or around some of the shirt details. As long as it's not grabbing everything and it's only grabbing a little bit, then that's gonna really make the sharpening look more realistic. So just turn it up a little bit and then turn up the amount a bunch, or as much as you really can do without looking absolutely ridiculous. And once you hit OK, your image is going to end up looking a lot sharper. But the reason the Unsharp Mask is so great is you can actually do it a couple of times for a different look. So go back into the Unsharp Mask again and turn that radius all the way up, and then turn the amount down quite a bit so it's only there a little bit. And that's going to just really change the colors and add a lot more contrast into the design, and you can kind of play around with it and get some really cool looks. So the Unsharp Mask is great for making your thumbnails pop, but again, make sure you don't go too overboard. Moving along, tip number 4, center focus. You've sharpened your image and you cut them out from the background, you've really made them pop, but if you really want it to stand out from the background, just add a little bit of center focus around the edges. To do this, just go to filter and blur, and there's actually a bunch of different blur options here. You can do a lens blur, which is going to make it look like you have a nice focus on the character as far as the background. Or you can use some tilt shift, which you can add a little bit of blur on the top and bottom, which sort of goes for a really cool sort of toy effect depending on what you're doing. That can work really well. Or you can do my favorite, center focus, which is basically going to add some blur around all the edges of the thumbnail and really draw your eye to the center, hence the name center focus. And there you go. By this time, you should have a pretty awesome looking thumbnail. But there is one tip that is more important than them all. Tip number 5, branding. Branding is by far one of the most important. Branding is what's going to tell your subscribers or your fans, people watching your videos, that it is actually one of your videos. I'll give you some great examples of branding. If you look at my thumbnails, I try to make sure that the text and font style is the same throughout every thumbnail. Either that or it has my face in it or some orange or something that relates to me, so that no matter what, if you see that thumbnail, you'll know that it is a video from me. Now you might be wondering, why is that important? Branding is super important because you want your subscribers to know when you've uploaded a video, and you want them to know that it is in fact a video from you. Otherwise, they might not know it's actually a video from you. They might not click on it. And if you don't get your subscribers to click on your video first, then the chances of it actually getting into YouTube's algorithm and get into suggested feeds and all that stuff is super slim. So you really want your subscribers to know that the video in their feed is from you, and branding is a great way to do that. So just try and think of some image or logo or color that you can keep consistent throughout all your thumbnails so that people will know it's a video from you. Some other great examples of this are Ant Venom's thumbnails. You can see every one of his thumbnails are different, but they all have that logo in the corner and the border and the Minecraft logo that tell you this is an Ant Venom video. Ant Venom actually isn't a good example because, I mean, I actually made that thumbnail that I uses as a template, but regardless, it looks pretty good. Some other examples of great branding are Rice Gum. If you look at any of his videos, it either has him in it or just that classic style of the really colorful, really glowing, lots of drop shadow, bright text. Every one of his thumbnails pops and looks different enough from the last one that you know it's something new and interesting, but you also can tell without a shadow of a doubt that it is a Rice Gum video. Use Unsharp is a great example of branding. If you look at any one of his thumbnails, there's either a yellow background, a white outline, or his face. These are all things that are synonymous with his brand, which is super important. And there you go. That is the final tip. That is 5 awesome tips in Photoshop to make your thumbnails look that much better. But before this video ends, I want to slap on one extra tip, and that is save for web. Instead of just going file, save as, and saving your thumbnail that way, always go file, export, and save for web. Save for web is the best way to save your images for, you guessed it, the web. Basically what Save for Web does is it opens up a ton of options for scaling your images, whether you want it to be 1080p, 720p, really easy to just save it that way without having to rescale the entire document. And also, the most important thing is converting your images to sRGB. You're going to want to always check that little box that says convert to sRGB and also embed color profile, because oftentimes web images have a different color space than what you can create in Photoshop, and that's going to often result in really gray and muted looking images or just different colors than you thought you were getting when you designed it in Photoshop. It also adds a bunch of compression, so the file size will be smaller, making it easier to upload, stuff like that. You can save GIFs for animations, you can do JPEG, you can do PNG. Save for Web just gives you all kinds of options, and it's so much better than the default file save as function. And there you go, that is my final tip. I hope you guys did enjoy watching this video. If you did, hit that like button, and if you've got any questions at all, leave them in the comments below and I'll try and respond. All these tips should work for any version of Photoshop, but if you have any issues, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I was using the brand new Adobe CC 2017 edition. They've actually added quite a few awesome new options in the 2016 and 2017 editions of Photoshop. If you want to make a whole other video on all the new things that they added, maybe I'll make a sort of Photoshop update video showing you all the cool new features. But generally, all these things should work on any version. So again, hopefully that all works for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all later. Peace.